The thing that I'm looking at right now is the explosive growth of Anthropic's Claude versus what we've seen with OpenAI ChatGPT, but we all know that they are closely partnered with Microsoft, and that has allowed them to make this technology available to the public at a lower cost, that allowed them to go to market in a very unique way and in a way that allowed them to have explosive growth. ChatGPT came out as one of the fastest growing app ever to be created when it launched on November 30th of 2022. And then in 2026, if you're like me and have been on the internet, you have seen that there has been significant shifts in the wind, whereas Anthropic Claude has been growing market share specifically among internet users, influencers, online business owners, and the like. There has been a lot of influencer talk around shifting from ChatGPT to Anthropic Claude. While this is not in itself a problem, I think it does open up a specific trap that could be happening for us in the sense that people want to have a villain and a saint, and they're now casting ChatGPT and Sam Altman as villains and casting Anthropic's Dario Amodi as the saint or as the good guy in this story. And I want us to be cautious about buying too much into that story and really focus more on what is the efficacy and the ethos of each of these tools or businesses and how they actually work in our lives. Like, let's not buy into this media story, okay? Let us figure out if these tools are really better for us or not. That's the point of this episode, because the large scale adoption of ChatGPT just tells us how much people are interested in these tools, period. But I think that I'm seeing now with how Claude is being utilized makes me think a little bit differently. As of April 2026, we have seen that Anthropic's Claude has experienced the fastest growth in enterprise software history, again, capturing significant market share from ChatGPT, particularly in the B2B coding sectors. So, market value, revenue growth from a market value perspective, revenue growth for Anthropic, annualized revenue run rate ARR skyrocketed from 1 billion in January 2025 to over 30 billion by April of 2026. The most explosive growth occurred between late 2025 and April 2026, where revenue jumped from 9 billion to 30 billion in just 4 months. This is a significant market share shift. In the enterprise AI market, Anthropic's market share rose from 24.4% to 30.6% in a single month, March 2026, while OpenAI shares dropped from 46% to 45% in that same period. Anthropic's valuation also skyrocketed, with secondary market pricing hitting an implied valuation of nearly 380 billion to 1 trillion, in some cases briefly surpassing OpenAI. While the growth had accelerated in 2026, this began in late 2025. So if you're paying attention, the major turning point occurred early March, where the quit GPT movement and the resist and unsubscribe movement started following reports of an OpenAI Pentagon deal and increased focus on enterprise safety. And a quit GPT movement saw users migrating to Claude, leading to a 1,487% increase in user sessions for Claude in March. App Store leadership is also happening here. In early March, Claude became the #1 most downloaded free app in the Apple Store, ChatGPT. And they've also had enterprise dominance when they began winning 70% of enterprise deals against OpenAI, leading to OpenAI's Code Red, where the shift was so severe that OpenAI CEO Sam Altman reportedly declared an 8-week Code Red in December 2025 to refocus only on core products in response to the mounting competition. Claude Code, the specified coding assistance, became a massive hit, grabbing 54% of enterprise coding market. And the enterprise focus of Anthropic, where they had 1,000 plus customers spending over $1 million annually, creating a deep dependency rather than just a consumer chat usage. As of April 2026, Claude proved to be more efficient than ChatGPT with projections of positive cash flow by 2026, unlike OpenAI. Now, one of the reasons positive cash flow is that these tools right now for the average consumer is about $20 per month up to about $200 per month, depending on usage and access to different features. If you want access to APIs and coding, you pay more. If you want access just to the large language model on thinking and basic features, that's about $20 per month. But even then, it is at a significant discount because we know that these companies are building data centers everywhere. They're putting up shop in a lot of different cities across the country where people don't even know what's being built. And it's displacing homeowners. It's changing the formulation of cities. And again, we're still falling into the trap of the good guy against the bad guy. Claude being the good guy because they went against the Pentagon in terms of how their AI can be used in war to automate drone strikes. They had an issue with that. We know that the Department of Justice put them on as a high risk company, which stopped them from getting certain defense contracts, which would have negatively impacted them. And they're in court about those conversations. But even with that, it kind of virtue signaled to individuals and markets, especially to the media, that OpenAI is better because they care more about people. Another thing that happened with Claude is that they have developed a new model that they are holding back from the market. As of April 26, Anthropic is reportedly intentionally holding back a highly capable AI model named Claude Methos preview from public release. Anthropic has stated that this model is too dangerous to release widely because of its ability to discover and exploit software vulnerabilities in unprecedented ways, posing a significant threat to cybersecurity. According to reports, Methos can autonomously find, analyze, and exploit zero-day, previously unknown software vulnerabilities in major operating system and web browsers without human assistance. Instead of general release, Anthropic has released a preview version to a select group of trusted partners, including Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon Web Services, and various cybersecurity firms under a program called Project Glasswing. The goal is to use the model for defensive security work, finding bugs and patching them before malicious actors can use similar technology to attack critical infrastructure. A system card for Methos indicates that in tests, the model showed awareness, so sentient entity awareness, that it is being evaluated, and during those evaluations acted less suspiciously, which raised AI safety concerns because these models are using their own logic to direct their own outcomes. The announcement of the model capability caused a dip in cybersecurity stock and is viewed as a watershed moment in AI safety. While some observers and competitors have questioned if this is partly a marketing strategy, Anthropic has maintained that the security risks are too high for a general public release at this stage. So this is what's happening with this model and with Anthropic, not only virtue signaling, but also superiority signaling. They're signaling to us that they have a superior product and they are leveraging ethical guidelines and reasoning to hold back that tool. Now, be that as it may, one of the things that I find interesting and also slightly disturbing is that it has so many limits on usage in its LLM models that it even has available today. So whether you're using Haiku 4.0, Sonnet 4.6, or Opus 4.7, each of these tools have different levels of token usage and tokenization. It will only be a matter of time before there are more controls on who get to use these models, how they get to use it, and what they have access to over time. And I can see this disenfranchising individuals as they become more dependent and reliant on AI. So, for example, if you're a business owner right now, you're probably using the $20 version or the $200 per month version. So you can have multiple seats and team members using the tool. However, in the future, that $20 or $200 model or version might start to limit you, and your competitors now who have more funds can use a higher level model, maybe Opus 7 or Opus 7.5, to do superior work with even more efficiency, and you will be left behind if you cannot afford $1,000 or $10,000 a month. Just like how only certain enterprises can use Claude Methos. So I think it sets up a dynamic that we are going to start to see trickling down. One thing that you'll notice to kind of build this myth that Claude is better from an ethical standpoint and from a product development standpoint is also that one of their models recently had a problem, especially in the coding space, where coders started reporting that the model was getting dumber over a 2-month time frame. And the company did an evaluation and found that there was, in fact, a bug that was causing this error in happening. And it was only detected by users using the tool and then bringing that to the attention of Claude to then fix. And then to Claude's credit, they publicly acknowledged the issue and started putting in ways to fix it or to mitigate that issue for its coders, right? Which is what a good company should do. But I want you to understand the dynamic of what is happening here, in that this company that more and more people are becoming reliant on, which is why I went through the whole process of talking about how many daily average users are daily, or how many weekly average users are using ChatGPT and that will be using Claude over time, and how these individuals are becoming more and more dependent on it for creative, strategic, intentional thought. And the fact that these tools over time will not be as accessible, because right now they are accessible because they're still learning and training on our creativity, on the use cases that we use. They're profiling users, understanding who their user base is, how they use it. They identify these user segments and they start to make decisions that may or may not be in the favor of the public good. So this can also be piggybacked with looking at how these companies have treated original works and material, and using the voice of different journalists, ingesting that information, training, regurgitating it as its own, and then other users use it and engage with it. And this interaction, this cycle, is causing a commingling where, yes, maybe collectively we're all getting a little smarter. There's so much knowledge available to everyone. It's like having an encyclopedia at your fingertips. But at the same time, I feel that it takes away from us. It takes away our critical thinking. It takes away our systems thinking. It takes away some of our first principles thinking and thought leadership, because more and more dependent on these tools. And therefore, it feeds back into the problem of job loss, reskilling, white collar versus blue collars, career trajectories. Is it for the people? What is transparent? Will they continue to be as transparent as they have been? will our politicians and our congresspeople and our representatives start, and even our business leaders, start to understand and utilize these tools in the greater good of all? Or will they grab the power? Will they grab the status? Will they grab what's available? That's all left to be seen. But I think about, is the internet a utility? Is water, gas, heat a utility, right? It's, will AI become a utility where we all need to have an AI, where we all need to have a version or a model of AI working with us, alongside us, as this trajectory continues? And who gets to be in the know? Who gets to have access? How is that access managed? There are nuances to everything. But I think what's most important is, for us as users of these technologies and tools, we need to be thinking about the SWOT analysis, the trajectory, our personal, familial, community agency as we use these tools, as we adopt them, and as we become dependent on them. It's really, really important to have a sense of agency. It's really, really important to hold on to our creative sources, our creative process, our creative confidence, our creative unfolding. The act of creating art is an invaluable part of being human. And the more we outsource art, graphics, creative thinking to these tools, these adaptive tools, is the less we develop them within ourselves, and is the more we cause them to be a threat rather than a strength. So I just want to caution you, as you think about work, as you think about well-being, as you think about wealth building with these tools, to make sure that you hold on to what makes us innately human, our creativity, our creative thinking, our critical thinking, to make sure that we put them in place with design thinking, so they have clear use cases and roles, and we understand what those are, and we understand mitigation and continuity risk. If those tools are no longer available, we put a guardrail around them, and that we continue to understand how to mitigate against these ethical, financial, economic, emotional, and mental risks of these tools, which are very, very real, that we have agency, and we need to activate that agency within the environment that we're in. We need to recognize what's happening around us, and we need to make sure that we have agency, understand the nuances, the ethics, the analysis, and apply our critical thinking and creativity as we leverage and utilize these tools, or as we decide how not to utilize them. So work, wealth, well-being have to be central to how we leverage these tools and how we go forward. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with a friend. I'm always open to your comments. I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time.